What is up, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, podcast stations across the globe? Scott Sparrow, the Driven Mindset Podcast. We're recording live December 30th, and we got a very unique guest tonight. I am excited to hear the story behind kind of his journey, not only into North America, Canada to be specific, but beyond that. I have my co-host. You guys might know his name. He's always hunting for the next big jump. I don't know. I'm a little exhausted. I've been working basically for 4 days straight. I've slept a little bit, and we're here live, and we're going to have a great interview tonight and conversation with Mr. Cody Hunt from Alpine, Wyoming. What is up, my friend? How you doing? How you feeling?
Good evening. How are you doing, Scott?
Dude, that has to be hands down the worst intro I've ever done on my.
You know what, Scott? You've been awake for like 4 days or something like that. Slept 3 hours last night. You've been at work all day. You're still at work, bro. Like, I'm not blaming you at all.
I guess
you're good, bro. One? You're good. You get some slack, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I hope everybody out there in audio land and that tunes in live on Facebook and YouTube gets some value out of this story tonight. Conversation we're about ready to have. I met this individual at A-Days, I believe, 2 years ago. I can't say that now that we're one big life family. He is family, and I can't wait to get to learn more about him because his stove every morning, I could say, fundamentally changed the snowmobile community.
Probably. I was just scrolling through his Instagram a little while ago while we were sitting backstage, and I'm really excited for this conversation. We're going to talk about some big sends, I'm sure, and talk about his journey becoming a professional backcountry snowmobiler. Pretty pumped about this conversation for sure.
Well, I say we bring him up. Friends, family, Driven Mindset Podcast Warriors. I hope you all give a real nice welcome to our guest, Mr. Khan Yong Gee. Did I say it right, brother?
You said it right. How are you, boys? Cody, Scott.
What's up, buddy?
You guys ready for a real nice podcast?
Real nice. Real nice.
Real nice, boys. Real nice.
So I gotta say, whatever got in you that day when you first kicked your camper door open and said, real nice morning, that got on like a tidal wave. And I'll tell you what, I had a couple rough mornings around that time of year. I remember it, but just your energy, your vibration, accent you say that in, dude, it pulled me through many a rough morning. And I gotta say thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then the thousands of other Instagram and Facebook stories I saw where people were doing it.
Yeah, started off a bit of a trend there. It's kind of a bit of an Australian saying there, like you used to rock up to the surf and the waves would be pumping, and instead of saying, "Oh, it's super epic today," you're like, "Oh, real nice, real nice."
Real nice.
Caught on like that, and then a lot of people were doing it the last couple of years. Carl Saxton and a bunch of other different people, and it's pretty cool how much it caught on. It's kind of sort of a unique thing for me, and I don't know, I've just been rolling with the punches over the years with it, and it's definitely gives me a lot of enthusiasm. And then whenever I see something pretty epic, or it's a great view, like out the camper door up in the Whistler area there, it's just always real nice.
I love it. I totally, and like I'm a judgy. Like I'm quick to judge a little bit. People would jump on and say it, and I'm like, oh, that was a terrible accent. Like, were you trying to impersonate the accent? Was that a British accent? I couldn't really tell. Like, personally, I think you could have tried a little harder on that. But it was hilarious. I loved it, and it's one of those little things. And I like to call them little mindset hacks that,
Yeah.
you know, you guy could be down, could be sleepy, and it might not be a real nice day, but by simply saying it, you can change the trajectory of that entire day in 1 second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's all about, living in the present moment, right? And then anything at that point in time can be real nice. It doesn't matter if it's the smallest thing, but it's basically, centered around what you find is real nice in your life, and then what you make of it. Essentially, is sort of a philosophy that I try and live by for sure.
That's type.
Yeah.
I like it, dude. I like it a lot. Real lot.
So, myself,
Scott, what do you want to talk about tonight? Like,
I want to let everybody know where Khan's hat coming from right now. I'm currently, I just introduced you. I said you were in Alpine. I'm back in Utah doing my thing. Where are you at? You're in Canada, right? But where specifically are you coming from today?
Yeah, so I'm in Canada. I'm in like the basically the central part of the BC interior. So I'm about an hour and a half southeast of Revelstoke, or I'm about 45 minutes from Sycamore. So they're sort of two of the biggest, well-known areas in the interior and in BC, and almost in most of North America for sledding. And I actually live on the valley of the other side of Sycamore. So anyone that's ever ridden Sycamore before. I live in a little area called Maple Lake, which is the far end of what they call the Okanagan Valley, which breaks up sort of the Sycamore and Revelstoke area from what they call Kelowna. So I can access pretty much all the terrain that you can access from Sycamore, but from the back door. So we have backdoor entry to pretty much some of the raddest terrain in BC, right? So, yeah, it's a pretty good area. Sled in and sled out from the house, and we just get all the storms that hit the Monashees, which is the start of the Revelstoke area. Yeah.
Prime. And Cody, to answer your question, that's exactly what I want to talk about. It's not necessarily happenstance that you're in that area, and that's your spot. You kind of created that, just from what I've gathered.
Yeah.
I want to dive into that a little more. And I mean, you're not born and raised right there in that little sweet sledding spot. You had to mold that, create that, and make that happen.
Yeah.
And boy, dude, if we could tap into that during this show, and somebody out there listening says, hey, I've been thinking about it, I want to do it, I've been dreaming about it, it's something I want to kind of try to do. If we could tap into that and accomplish, the next traveler to pursue his passion, go after it, and make it work day in and day out, I would say mission accomplished.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone has a bit of a story of where they came from, but again, it's just the essential thing of what you create out of your life, what you want to do, and where you want to be. And the sled industry has given us the opportunity to be able to do what we love the most, but to basically be mostly focused on sledding through the winter, it hasn't come easy. So yeah, I definitely got a story that we can yarn about for the next hour or so here.
Perfect. Cody, you got...
Yeah, it kind of sounds like you got a similar story to me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, Scott, he's got a very similar story to me, man. Like being from California, and then we moving up to Jackson Hole, and I followed the whole snowboard career for a long time, and then decided to go snowmobiling, and decided to move down here to Alpine and kind of put roots in down here. And I did that for a reason, to where I could follow that passion of snowmobiling all the time, and just so his story is very similar to mine, but it sounds like you came from a lot further away than California.
Yeah, well, I come from
So you came in from where?
I came from the sunny part of Australia, which you could class as the California of Australia. So I come from Queensland, from the Gold Coast. So if anyone's ever heard of Surfers Paradise, that's the sort of main tourism hub of the Gold Coast, and that's where I'm from. So I moved to Canada in 2003. Same deal. I came over to Whistler. I moved to Whistler there, and I was pursuing a 1-year working holiday visa where I could basically live in Whistler and then just snowboard every single day. And then I remember the first year I was in Whistler, I got introduced to snowmobiles, and on the budget I had back in those days, I was just a traveler and I really couldn't afford a snowmobile. And then basically I ended up getting a snowmobile once I moved back to Whistler about a year later in 2004. And we basically bought snowmobiles to access the backcountry to be able to snowboard. And then more and more I rode, the more and more I'd leave the snowboard behind. And next minute, it just snowball effect into a full blown sledding career. So that's kind of the roots, but it wasn't an easy path either. Coming over from Australia, it was a big move. I basically saved enough money to buy a house and so forth. But then basically I decided I wanted to pursue the life of living in the mountains and packed up all my things, moved across the other side of the world away from all my family, and yeah, just fell in love with the mountains, and the rest kind of become history. I spent, the last almost 10 to 13 years in the Whistler region and sort of grew my roots there, and then started my career, and basically just the passion that people have in the mountain towns like Whistler or Jackson or, even Tahoe, all those areas just kind of is the one thing that keeps people driven to chase what they want to do, right? To live that lifestyle. And it becomes a lifestyle more than just, a ski bum world or a snowmobile world. It becomes a culture that you integrate into. So yeah, that's a bit of a start.
You turned your passion. Yeah. Yeah, you turned your passion into something that could take you so far, not just in the snowmobile industry, but in life in general, because in the snowmobile industry, you have to be driven to continue on in it. If you're not, then, you can't afford the new sleds and everything like that to make it to where you can compete and keep up with the times and everything. I mean, you look at the sled sitting behind me, that thing out of the box is 12 grand new, if not more, and you have to work hard to get those things. So you have to have that driven mindset and continue doing it. And, that's what makes people go far in this industry.
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's a driven thing. Like, people always ask, oh yeah, you're sponsored and you get this and that. And it must be easy, but it's not easy. Like this industry is not an industry where you're in it to make money, right? You simply get the support, which gives you more opportunity to be able to ride every single day. But it's got nothing to do with the money or the photos or the Instagram or the gear or any of that. It's got to do with the love, the passion for sledding. And I've always told myself, like, all I want to be able to do is have a pathway to be able to sled every single day. And if I can achieve that through whatever way I can do, working hard through the summer, getting sponsors, continually progressing, creating a name for yourself in the industry, then that gives you the tools to eventually be able to make something out of that you want, and then be able to just sled every day. Wake up and be like, I'm going sled. Real nice day. I'm going sled.
Real nice at that point.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not all gravy.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Heck no, there's so much work that goes all around that. I know it. A lot of the people watching the show and that are tuning in on the podcast know it too. There's just an immense amount of work, and it's super important to be grounded enough to know that it does take that. It's not a must be nice type thing. It's that first year you came over to do snow, to ride snowboards, there had to be 1,000 challenges that you couldn't even have planned for. And then as the years go on, it's the same stuff riding, whether it be, sleds, gear break, equipment breaking down, getting where you need to go, dealing with any of the challenges from weather. It's constant. None of it's easy. I mean, most people watching this know that. I want to kind of back a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you so you went to the coast first, Whistler first. Was that number one? That's where I want to go. Was there maybe Tahoe? maybe Wyoming, maybe, or was, I mean, Whistler.
Well, the biggest thing was obviously Canada because, Australia and Canada are Commonwealth countries. So they had a really good working holiday visa program where two Commonwealth countries made it really easy. So, you get a lot of people from Australia coming into Canada and a lot of people from Canada going over to Australia and then any other Commonwealth countries. So Canada was just a natural thing for me because the States with the green card and so forth is a lot harder. So I first entertained wanting to move up into Banff, which is, past Whistler. It's in basically Alberta there. So that was the first move. And I remember moving to Canada and I bought a van. The van made it like probably about 100 kilometers and broke down in Whistler. And then I ended up basically, okay, we're in Whistler. So that was the original start of it. And then I always thought of just wanting to sort of move on and go check some other places out. But the coast just had so much to offer, and I created such a good name for myself just coming up in the ranks on the coast there, riding with people like Andrew Munster, Cody McNulty, a bunch of those guys. And we just sort of created a scene. But as you guys have probably known off all the Slednex movies and so forth, the coast has always been the mecca for snowboarding and backcountry riding. So just to have that sort of roots, looking up to guys like, Dan Treadway, Jeff Carl, Carly Johansson, those sort of guys, having those people influence you in the area, it was really hard to just leave the coast. And I ended up buying a house there, selling a house, and then I ended up, pulling out of that and then living in an RV right at the bottom of the ski hill for like 4 years. So it's just a natural progression of just that sort of lifestyle, you know what I mean?
That's so, and it like,
Yeah.
for me, like I did some cool stuff. Like my path was it was a lot different, but in the back of my mind, being at sort of living at the ski hill, doing what you can to ride every day, like that was always like that thing in the back of my mind. And even as we graduated college, the roommates and they knew I lived kind of close to Tahoe, and they're like, just go get a house out in Kentucky for the the winter and get the job at the ski resorts. We never did, because I mean they did rodeo like I. So it was just always something. So I'm really envious of. I always pictured that would be a pretty dope way to spend your winters, was just RV'd out, guys in a wing of a house, if you will, and riding gear everywhere like that. Looking back, I'm like, I could have done anything would have been ski bum type.
Yeah. Well, it was a tough one too. Like, as you guys know, probably in all the resort towns, accommodation's a pretty hard thing. And I had a house in Pemberton, which is about half an hour north of Whistler. And once I sold that, it was pretty hard to get back into the market. So I just kind of thought the best way to do it would, be buy an RV. And then this RV was parked down at one of the main snowmobiling parking lots, like a RV campground that could access that. And I just sort of thought, that's the dream, to wake up every morning and just sled from the front door. And there's not a lot of places you can do that, right? And then, like I said, with the way the accommodation was out on the coast, and it's still pretty crazy, it was just a no-brainer. And then after, having a mortgage for 5 years and mowing the lawn and, payments and water and all that sort of stuff, I was just paying a flat rate. I didn't have to worry about anything. I could just wake up and go sledding. So it was just probably the most ideal situation for a sledder that just wanted to get out every day from the front door, right? Yeah.
Getting out every day is awesome for sure.
Yeah. So
Michael,
it was a big.
Michael Flower asked, "Do you still snowboard at all on Facebook?"
I snowboard a little bit, but not much these days. I kind of got a little bit more into snowboarding, but just the thing about snowboarding in the backcountry is you've got to have a pretty dedicated crew, right? Like, it's not like you can have, two guys that want to do a bit of boarding and a couple of guys want to ride sleds, and then you sort of integrate it. You've got to have a focused crew that wants to go out and do some shredding. So occasionally I get out on the snowboard, get a couple of power turns in, or I get on the ski hill with the missus, but generally I'm pretty driven for sledding. So, yeah.
I feel it's such a unanimous.
It takes control of your life.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It's choices. I think it's all choices. Like, we all can be doing really whatever we want to do, but it's a matter of the choice you make and whether or not you're willing to accept those choices, right? Like, you know, you could be a ski bum forever and, you know, you might not be able to buy a house, or you could, you know, work hard every single day and make a whole bunch of money and have a nice house and fancy car and so forth. But you may never go snowmobiling. So it's just a choice of what you want to do with your life and how much, you know, whether you can balance it, like you said there, Scott, or you want to dedicate everything to pursuing the one thing that you want to do. And it's all life choices, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of the way I am, man, is I've just kind of focused the last 6 years of my life just into snowmobiling and snowmobiling only. Like, quit dirt biking during the summer, and like, snowmobiling is my passion, it's my drive, and it's what makes me wake up every day, other than my daughter, you know, like, that's just the way it rolls, and I follow that dream strongly.
Yeah, 100%. I'm kind of the same, man. I used to, you know, living up in Whistler there, like, it's a world-class mountain bike park and lots of epic dirt biking. And, you know, dirt biking is sort of my background. Like, a lot of people, you know, drifting off from what we're talking about here, a lot of people wonder how I got into sledding from Australia, and, you know, we don't have much snow there and so forth. But my background is dirt bikes and surfing, so I had that board sports strength, but I also had a lot of throttle sports strength as well. So instantly, once I started sledding, it was just one of those things that just clicked straight away. So, you know, having the dirt bike background and the mountain bike background and so forth, I did a lot of that. But the last sort of 4 to 5 years, I've kind of pushed in a different direction, where I come into the summer and I just do completely low impact sports, which I basically just fish and forage for mushrooms. And then come the winter, I just ride sleds hard and just give the body lots of abuse, and then back into the cycle of fishing and hiking and some of the low impact sort of stuff. So that's been the routine for me about the last 5 years, and it's been working out pretty good after, you know, multiple injuries and so forth. So, yeah.
That's the method. I'm the same way, man. I had dirt bikes and all this stuff, and the last time I broke my collarbone on my dirt bike, it was in October, and I was like, I'm jeopardizing being able to ride this winter just to kill time. And, you know, obviously it's fun. I like riding a dirt bike. It's a great time, but yeah, man, it's just, I'm not made of money, and it takes a lot of money to maintain a dirt bike and ride it and break it and fix it.
Yeah.
And then wear and tear you have on your body. I like to go into sledding season. I got to say, although I've had a shoulder reconstruction here not too long ago, because I made the commitment this year to be 100% as physically and mentally sharp as I could going into winter, I feel better than I ever have. And that's the same thing. I make the sacrifices through the summer, and a guy's making choices. And we talked about this last week with Skinner, Cody, is making those choices all year long, because we always have that thing over here that keeps us driven, that keeps, you know, it keeps you on the path that you're going on. It's super important. And if you want to, like, I'm looking to excel and grow and improve in the winter, and people that are losing focus and getting injured I get it. People can ride dirt bikes and mountain bikes and do all that they want. That's their deal. But I'm finding myself more and more, it's July. What can I do in July to stay healthy, be ready, and get, you know, prepared for the season that's 7 months away still?
Yeah.
Unless you're in BC when it starts in freaking September, you're riding, it seems like.
Yeah, well, it's good to have that other driven thing to push you through the summers as well. But like you said, once you lose focus on that, then it can be really tough to sort of maintain the focus and get ready for the winter, right? Like, you know, a lot of people work pretty hard through the summers to be able to save enough to be able to do what they do in the winter, and that's the key to it, is, you know, working hard through the summer and being able to reap the rewards through the winter is what a lot of us do. But another huge thing for me is sort of quality of life these days. You know, like, if I'm not happy through the summer and I'm not focused on what I'm doing and I'm happy with what I'm doing, then it just prolongs my summer. Whereas if I'm focused and I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm enjoying my life, the winter's that doorstep before you know it. Like, you're running around scrambling, trying to get your winter ready because you've been so focused through your summer. So having that driven mindset to keep you focused through the summer, but also working towards a goal is a big thing to me. And like I said, quality of life is the key, in my opinion.
Just from your language and hearing you talk from, your move over to Whistler, goal driven is kind of a foundation you have. That's coming across in your language. And like you said, I want to dive into this quick with goal setting for you with, is that something you're writing down? You're like, hey, I have these are short-term goals, long-term goals, or is it just something like a feeling that you attach yourself to and that goal's out there and you keep working towards it? Combination of both?
Yeah, for me, over the years of my life, I've sort of tried to learn different ways of setting goals. There's been a lot of literature about, writing goals down and sort of concentrating on that goal, and then small goals bring you to bigger goals. But for me personally, I've tried that sort of mindset, but basically my theory is that I focus on the goal that I want to achieve, and then I think about that goal constantly. And essentially, I feel like it's a form of manifesting the goal that you want to achieve, right?
Yep.
They don't always come that year. Like I've had many of disappointing years where I, injuries, or I've broken myself, or I haven't got a sponsor that I've wanted, or the money isn't there, or so forth. But, you stay focused on that goal. Personally, I stay focused on that goal and have that mindset that, if I keep working at it, then it will come around. And then the more positive I stay about it, tends to, like I said, manifest. Eventually putting it out there into the universe, if that makes sense.
No, it makes 100%. We got a little bit of background interference right now. I'm not sure where that's coming from. It could be any number of things on my end.
It's my Scott. It's my heater. Let me turn it off real quick. Kick me off the camera, and I'll turn it off.
I'll just I'll hit the mute button on you. All right. So, dude, brother, you hit it square on the head about manifesting it. And I love that you went there with that, because I feel like Cody and I started this whole program off this way, is once you kind of quit or stop or stop focusing, thinking about actively pursuing something, that's the minute it stops manifesting. As long as you keep that goal and that plan, or at least the actions, whether it's, whether you're achieving it or it's manifesting in the exact, picture that you've dreamt up, is you're continually working for it and towards it, and it generally shows up. And maybe not the exact way it was wrote down, pictured, or you dreamed about it, but conscious effort and daily, thinking about it, working towards it, it generally comes. And manifesting is the only way to make that happen, is constantly seeing it and saying it. See it till you say it, or say it till you see it, is something that I've been told often.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, there's always going to be speed bumps. Like, there's always going to be things or people or certain entities in your life that are always going to want to bring you down. But, you stay focused on it, you stay positive on it, and you know that things don't happen overnight. And if you can see the bigger picture, a lot of the time my theory is it always seems to work out one way or another, right? You still got food on the table. You still like, we're pretty fortunate to have the lives that we live, living in the Western world. So, things can be a lot worse. So for me, just stay focused on it, stay positive about it, and, continue working towards what you want to achieve, and it's going to come around, in my opinion.
Yep. I like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As long as you stay focused, driven towards that goal, it's going to come around. No matter how you look at it, it's just going to happen, because when you're driven about it, and you're so driven about it that nothing can stop you, it won't. Nothing will stop you from your goals.
I think the biggest thing too about the background of being driven by it is to be passionate about it. If there's no passion involved in it, then there's a really hard to be driven. It's like one of those jobs that you wake up every day and you're just like, oh, I don't want to be going to work. I don't want to be doing that. But if you're passionate about it, you can wake up every day and you will be driven to do what you need to do. But the minute there's no passion there, it's gone.
I like to spin that a little bit. Maybe you're not completely passionate about what you're doing at the time, but that the work, the effort that energy is going to yield down the road is going to get you to that passion or where you want.
Yeah.
Is being able to tap into that, because there's days where I like to keep a pretty positive mindset. I've found it's really kind of changed the trajectory of my life. Is I'm doing a lot of the same things I was doing 5 years ago. I'm just thinking about them differently and processing them differently. It's like, it may be tough right now. Like, I don't want to be at this power plant till midnight. That does not raise my stoke. But I know once this job's complete, that satisfaction's going to be there. That stoke will be there on the back end of it. And what it's going to yield me next week or the week after is going to totally feel that. So that's a thing I want to get out to people is we might not all be able to, guide fish and ride professional, backcountry daily, day in and day out. We might have that regular job, but find a way. If it's miserable, then definitely it's going to be miserable, but finding a way to make your current situation fit that ultimate goal and find positives in it no matter what is a huge win. I can 100% attest to it. A lot of people, I get up and I go to work at not the same place. I'm in Utah sometimes, I'm in Nevada sometimes, but it was just how I started framing it in my mind. It's not happening to me, it's happening for me to get closer to my goal. Let's go, brother. Like, that just flipped.
Man. In the long run, it is creating a passion for you. It's giving you the tools to be able to do the things you want to do. And though you're only doing the things outside of the work that you're doing because you're passionate about it, your kids or your family or so forth, or your writing, it's all passion driven. So yeah, that's a good point.
Brap Chap, I dropped it up on the comments here. Big picture mindset and small day-to-day tasks. I like that, brother. Yeah. And that's one guy, definitely, he hit me up in the text messages a couple days ago and kind of laid it out for me. I love what you're doing, brother, and keep it up, because that's exactly the mindset it takes to get where you want to go.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, for sure. So that kind of goes back to like short-term thinking versus long-term thinking, right, Scott? Like, if you're always thinking in the short term, you're never really going to have those long-term results. And I kind of figured this out this year, being 30 now and everything like that, and being on this planet for a while. Yeah, I'm getting older. My back's starting to hurt. I feel like in the last 29 years, I've been thinking very short term with things, like I'll get to a goal and be like, okay, I'm satisfied there. And it was, but I wasn't really thinking about it long term and what it's going to take to get to it. So I was just doing a bunch of short term things to try to get to that goal. But once I started retraining my brain to think in the long term and seeing the goal in itself, I feel like that helped me a lot, and just long-term thinking instead of short-term thinking in everything I do.
Yeah, I've tried a lot more of that in my life as well. Like, to be honest with you, I look at the long-term picture for sure, but I'm definitely a guy that lives in the moment as well. And to be able to think more of that long-term goal or that long-term outcome is definitely something that's going to structure you a lot better. But the biggest thing too for me is I like I said, love to live in the moment. So that's the beauty about sledding, man. When you're out there, you're living in the moment, right?
It's got to be, man. It's got to be you can't be exactly in the moment. You got to be just a couple feet ahead of the moment. Yeah.
You got to be thinking.
You're living in the moment. Yeah, brother, you're hitting the wall. Yeah. I gotta say, man, dude, I'm loving watching your progression. I think I got connected with you via social media maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years, probably 3 years now. This year kind of flew by, so we'll just say 3 years. But you are one of the harder charging riders out there right now. I think, I only see you going bigger and going harder. It's fun watching you progress. I want to unpack that a little bit for people because it doesn't start big. I mean, what you said, you're kind of 5 years, 6 years into your professional career and pushing as a backcountry rider. Mm-hmm. Let's kind of unpack that a little bit, how you build up to those bigger jumps, those bigger drops, and this stuff's applicable to anybody across anything. And we're just happen to be focused in on riding backcountry right now, which
100%. Yeah, look, progression's a big thing. It's definitely one of the things that drives the sport. For me, progression has definitely been something that's, the way sledding is going now, progression is huge. It's hard to keep up with the progression. You're looking at, Caleb Kosterke, Kyle Saxon, all those boys, Matt Walker, all the young guns now coming up. They're just mental. And to even think that you can compare your progression with their level of progression, it's on the same wavelength, but the kids now are just doing the craziest things. And, I'm 37 this year, so I'm no spring chicken. So progression for me now is not necessarily, doing the sickest, flat spin or doing a big backflip. The progression for me now is to be able to get through a season and confidently know that I can get through my season healthy. For me, if I get injured these days, it seems like my season is not as much of a payoff as it is if I, did the biggest hit and got destroyed. So for me these days, I'm progressing at a level where I'm, turning it on when I need to turn it on and turning it off when the conditions are not right. So over the years, I've kind of always thought, you're watching all the Sled Next movies and stuff like that, and you had to go the biggest and the best you could go, and that's the only way you're ever going to get noticed. But now these days, I think it's coming down to style, and obviously, like I said, trying to stay injury-free is a big one for me.
Amen to that. I just rounded 40 this year, and that's exactly it. Style, man. Like, I want to dial my style.
Yeah, everyone's defined by their style. I have been known over the years to hit some pretty decent stuff. Same with Cody. What it takes to do that, and it definitely takes a pretty driven mindset, and it takes a lot of focus. But there is big consequences to those situations not going right, and it's the more and more you progress through your career or through your sledding life, you'll realize that you get a bit older, you just don't bounce back the way you did. So, that's a big thing for me. Like I was saying, that's a huge part of my progression is trying to stay injury free and concentrating on knowing the times when it counts to send it and the times when it counts just to get out there and have a good time, right?
That's it.
Yeah. So that's a big one. But I guess another big thing for me too is that you see a lot of the stuff that people are doing now, and to go out and to emulate what other people are doing, like I said, let's put Caleb, for instance, like some of the stuff Caleb's getting up to these days, it's mind-blowing, right? And he's a driven human being, and he works hard to be able to do the things that he can do. And it's not like anyone can just jump on a machine these days and do that unless they have that driven mindset or they have that goal to achieve that. So, it's just a matter of what you want to achieve and how you want to progress in your riding, essentially.
Yeah.
It's fire. That's like it's true.
Yeah.
And I would say people, going out there, you go big picture goal, going out there just to emulate, what Caleb's doing or what Kyle's doing or any of these guys that are coming up like that. And just like you say, in mental out there, it's going to take away from your experience trying to get there. That's when you start leaving the mountain frustrated because you're not doing what they do. Well, we're not on their chapter. Like, it is not your Kyle, those guys are on chapter 15 and you might be on chapter 5 of your book. So like
100%. And that's the thing. it's taking away from the essence and the fun of sledding if you're trying to emulate or achieve that, right? Like, I think the best way for people, if they want to progress, is obviously start small and ride with people in your level, but also someone that's pushing you a little bit more and a little bit more each day. And having a rival buddy, like someone that you're super close with, that you ride with every day, and you guys are essentially one-ing up each other, and that drives the progression huge in my experience. You know, like I said, sort of riding on the coast with some of the top level athletes, like Andrew Munster, for instance. Like, the kid is basically just an absolute wizard on style. And, you know, getting out there and one-upping each other on bits and pieces through the years has always been a big part of progression. And like I said, just you want to start off small and work your way up. And, you know, don't be afraid ever when you're on a hit or a big drop or something to turn around and walk away from it and say, hey, look, this ain't going to work today. And over the years, you'll learn that that's a huge part of progression, as well as knowing the right time to say no to something.
Absolutely, man. I've definitely had to learn that for sure. There was years, you know, 2008 to 2014, I really didn't say no to much. I mean, people would point stuff out and I'd be like, yep, absolutely, I can do that. And it sometimes worked or sometimes didn't. But now it's like I'm looking at things more realistically and like, yeah, that could be done, but today probably not. We can come back in a week and do it when the snow's better.
Yeah.
So
I remember last year I hit one of my biggest hits there, and I waited for almost 4.5 months till it was right. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a matter of waiting for those right conditions, knowing that it's going to line up. You're confident in your riding, so you know you're on a roll. You're feeling confident at where your headspace is and what your ability's at, and then, you know, basically just executing it is the big thing. So, you know, progression isn't always starting from scratch, like square one of nothing, and then hitting the biggest thing you can ever hit. It's a matter of just, you know, progressing at a level that you're comfortable with and you're not going to get flogged on.
My biggest day last year came on one day, but it came from 4 months of hitting the wrong stuff in the wrong conditions, and just like, it didn't work. Why isn't it going? It's not coming up. It's not going over to the side. And it's like everything kind of took its time to where that day I saw that knoll, and I'm like, that's it. That's the one. This is the snow. It's basically like a foam pit out here.
Yeah.
Conditions kind of met preparation of 4 months of kind of stumbling, and none of it's big or nothing, but it didn't happen day one. It didn't happen on hit 3. It didn't happen on hit 30 on knoll 5. It was that day, and being ready and staying healthy, like you said, long enough that far into the season to be able to execute that day.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, I've broken myself early season a couple of times and just watched the whole season from the couch. And it's not fun, right? So, you know, it's if you're doing that, you're not progressing. You're sitting on the couch. So
that's a quick way to not progress.
Yeah, exactly.
Goal number 1 is you got to be out there. Goal number 2 is you got to be ready the day that you're out there, and you never know what day that is. So stay off the booze the night before all the time.
Yeah, the more days you're on the snow, the more you got to progress. 100% for sure. Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, go ahead, Scott. You're good.
Oh, I was going to kind of change up the subject if you didn't mind, and kind of dive into kind of Khan's setup this year, because I know he not only pushes himself out there, he kind of pushes the sleddy rides and the companies he works with to make sure he's got the best buggy out there to kind of do what he does and enjoy what he does and actually last an entire season. You put a lot of paces on sleds out there, I'm sure. What's a typical, I know you're riding most of the winter over the last few seasons. What kind of like mileage are you racking up on sleds? And I know you made the switch last year to a new brand. Let's talk about it, because you had to kind of relearn a little bit of that process too.
Yeah, well, I feel like over the years I sort of refined my setup. Like you said, it's I did a brand change last year. I was on Arcticat for about 7.5, 8 years, and then I bled green pretty hard, and then I just had an opportunity to move in a different direction. So I basically benefited what would work best for me, and naturally my natural progression was over to Polaris. Just the way the Polaris is set up and the vertical steering is sort of what I learned on, and it has been my style since day one. So Polaris was a natural transition. And then this year, basically, I'm running the 2021 Chaos with a 155 track, and then I've done the 6-inch tunnel cut. And then I got a lot of amazing support from a lot of partners through the industry there. So I'm going to be running full CFR factory racing setup. So handlebars, risers, and grips. Full Munster setup. So I'm obviously good buddies with Andrew Munster there, and also been working with him for quite a few years now. So I got the full Munster set up with the kill switches and reverse, and then I'm going to be running a full Ice Age skid. So I got the Bomber rails with the Hellfire wheels on the back there, and then my suspension is going to be the Raptor Kinetic series suspension. So it's pretty plush set up there. And then running clutching from a guy out here in Alberta called Altitude Power Sports. So he's running a team-tied clutch with his own helix and a bunch of his secret little goodies in there. So that's another setup. And then a big one for me this year is a new partnership with Force Turbos. So I'm really excited to be involved with those guys.
Yeah, buddy.
They have a pretty rad setup there. They have a bypass system that's pretty cool. It's a new system to the industry. So I'm the only guy in Canada that they're supporting this year. So it's pretty good to get some recognition from those guys and try a new product there. So I'm pretty stoked on that. And then I'm running a full Rogue Concepts bumper on the back there. So the guys over at Rogue are pretty sweet. They do a pretty good product. So I'm pumped on that. What other goodies we got on there? Curve Industry skis, and then I'll also be running the Hellfire front end, the 37-inch Hellfire front end from Raptor as well. So
that is
pretty nice.
Fire.
Yeah, and then the
Fire machine
Turbo tether, like everyone's running. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped on it. So I'm definitely pretty excited about my setup this year. I'm about 3/4 away from my build, but I just couldn't help myself, so I've been riding it before the turbos on there. So it's a good setup. And then obviously, outerwear, I'm running full Fly Racing head to toe. Those guys over at Fly Racing are amazing, and they give me a lot of support. And then overall, my setup as well, my location's pretty awesome. It's sled in, sled out from where I live, not far from Revelstoke, like I was telling you there, and it's pretty awesome, man. It's kind of ultimate.
Everybody that's watching and listening to this show right now and catching the podcast down the road, like that right there is the recipe for that's the dream, that's the vision. The old there it is, the perfect sled build. I mean, few things might be changed for rider specifics, but the sled, the spot, the gear, brother, like that, there's no way that day's not real nice kicking the door open on that setup right there.
It's awesome, man, and it's like I can't be more appreciative to the support that I get. Like having the support from these sponsors in the industry is like I said, it just gives me the tools now to focus on being able to ride as many days as possible. And it's awesome, man. Like it's been a long road. It's been 10 years in the making, but if everyone stays focused, you can basically achieve whatever you want as long as you have that driven mindset, right?
You know it. So I got it. Since you ride with Munster,
sure.
I gotta let you know. So I put the kill switch. I didn't go finger throttle. I don't know if this is the year to do it for me, but I did. I bought a kill switch, and I love it because I rode Polaris for quite a few years now and hate their kill switches. There's nowhere to hide it on your bars where you don't hit it at some point. But I got one ride, and the kill switch, the Munster kill switch, looks good, and it's just so nice to touch and done. Like he nailed it. Nice work.
It's money, man. Like kind of as you can see, anything that Andrew Munster does is pretty slick. Like he doesn't really do anything half-assed. So any product that he produces, it's come out of his head, and then it's been ridden or tested by any of us guys, Cody, me, any of the boys that ride that stuff. And yeah, man, it's a great product. So yeah, it's pretty slick. You're gonna love it, and you got to try the finger throttle, man. It's
Dude, it's close. A couple of my buddy Phillips, Ryan Phillips, put one on his sled this year, and we're gonna have pretty much identical builds. So it'll be neat to hop on it and do a little comparison. Honestly, I was gonna do it, and then with the shoulder reconstruction, like I just didn't want that variable early season of the finger throttle.
Yeah.
And I feel like I mean I talked to you on it initially, and like if you're going chaos, just get it on, put it on right now, and you'll get used to it.
Well,
but I didn't do it this year. I couldn't.
Yeah.
It's the way to go, man. Like, obviously, it's a rider preference thing, but, you know, we tell a lot of people at the sled shows and stuff like that as well. Is like, if you are looking at trying it, the best time to do it is at the very first ride of the season. So that way your muscle memory doesn't know what the hell's going on, and then it will pick it back up. It'll pick it up pretty quick. But for me, man, it's a personal choice. Just having that grip with your thumbs is just I'm locked in forward, right? Like when you're or you're boondocking or so forth, it's just like riding a dirt bike or a mountain bike in my opinion. But I'm not here to sell you on it, so you'll have to try it, guys.
Yeah, I've been running the finger throttle Scott for years.
I know you guys have.
What else do we got?
I look at the people that run them. I don't want to go on finger throttle world, but the people that run them swear by them. It's a love-or-hate relationship, and I can't make the crossover quite mentally yet, but we will.
Yeah, it's a mindset thing, man. Once you make that decision, you just got to put the time in, like anything, and then you.
Dude, we need to bring Khan needs to be our co-host because he could just bring everything right, but like he's another level than me on bringing it back to mindset. Like I love that. I'm slacking hard.
Oh, it is, man. Mindset's a big one for sure. It's like it's the creator of your life, really. You know, if you don't have that right mindset, then you're just going to end up on the couch for sure.
Amen.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Khan, what do you do during the summer, dude? Like, so we know that you're.
Go ahead. Sorry, there, Cody. I thought I cut you off there. Yeah, I basically. Sorry, buddy. There's a bit of a delay there. Yeah, I'm a carpenter by trade. So, you know, I did a carpentry apprenticeship in Australia when I think I left high school pretty early. I was like 14 or 15. Then I finished my apprenticeship when I was about 18. And it was just kind of one of those things that fell into my lap. And then it was something that I knew I could use if I traveled around the world. I'd always be able to do carpentry. So, you know, over the history of my adulthood, carpentry's been my mainstay. But, you know, about 3 or 4 years ago, I woke up one day and just said, you know, like I love doing carpentry, but I'm just, like I said, I'm not driven at it. It's not something that, you know, I could see myself doing forever. And then I always wanted to be a fishing guide, and I was huge into fishing. And then I just kind of went past that fear stage and made the decision just to go out on a limb and try and become a fishing guide. And I happened to go fishing up in one of my areas I've been going to for about 10 years. And I ran into one of the operators on the road, and we got chatting, and they asked me if I wanted to become a fishing guide for them. And I was like, sure, let's do it. So I showed up at this lodge, and they just basically handed me the keys to a brand new jet boat and went, yeah, you're going to be in charge of all the fishing this summer. So it just kind of left off from there. And then I worked for them for the last couple of years. And then this year I went back up there sort of doing some fishing, and then another lodge down the road there, we needed a few guys to give them a hand with some carpentry work. And I was up there for the whole of June during the big COVID stuff that had just ended, and everyone sort of was just getting back out. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll do a month's worth of work for you guys for cash, and started working for them. And then the owners asked me if I wanted to come on full time and be their main guy looking after all their construction and their private fishing guide up at their lodge. So it just kind of fell into place, man.
It manifested into place, my friend. Like that freaking story right there.
I don't know how it happened. Yeah, man, I just kind of had fishing on the brain, and then it went that way, right? And they utilized my skills in carpentry, and then also got me, you know, showing them, you know, 10 years worth of knowledge up in that area. So pretty cool.
So there's not a lot of kids that will, if there is kids out there listening right now that are like, I want to be a fishing guide and a carpenter. So there's like two places in the world that are going to need that one individual skill. Khan's got the one job. I got to go find the other one. I love it.
Yeah, man. This shows, man, you can do anything you want to do. It's just a matter, again, of being driven and being focused and positive about how it's going to work out and what you want to achieve out of it, right?
That's so rad.
Yeah.
I feel like we had to wait a year to do this interview for that story to come to fruition.
Yeah. What was that, Cody?
So I ask a lot of the riders that are on the show, what are your goals for this winter? Like, as far as your riding goes, what are you manifesting, Khan?
Well, my goals for this winter as a rider is, like, I think number one is obviously being healthy and staying safe. Like, I'm pretty passionate about being pretty safe in the backcountry, especially with a lot of the avalanche stuff that's going on. I've definitely furthered myself in a bit of avalanche education there. So, you know, that's a huge thing for me. That's another passion, is just sort of knowing what's going on in the snow. And I think every rider should be on that program. But number one, like I said, is to stay healthy. Number two is to have fun. And number three, I want to try and do a little bit more filming this year. So I'm working with Alex Hansen from Hypnos Media. So we're doing a little bit of stuff with him. And then I also got a media budget this year from Fly. So I'm going to be able to do a little bit more of my own edits. So for me, that's a big one, is just sort of get a bit more exposure and progress in my own level that sort of fulfills what I want to get out of riding. Yeah.
Right. That's
Sick,
a good
dude.
list of
Good
goals.
work.
Yeah. But I got no massive backflips or anything crazy like that, really. You know, I definitely got a couple of hits lined up that I've been looking at for the last couple of years that I'd like to achieve. But I think the biggest thing, man, like I said, is stay healthy and have a good time on the snow.
It's hard to go. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, buddy.
With that type of mindset, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Cody? You got any big goals this year?
Keep that thing together. I'm just kidding. You know, man, kind of like you, I just kind of really want to stay healthy. I'm working towards a bigger goal, and that's getting, you know, the shop opened back up and everything on my own property and everything owned, you know? So I'm working towards that. And if I get hurt this year, that goal is going to go away. So I'm just going to try to stay healthy. Yeah, I'm probably going to do some bigger hits because, you know, I look at stuff and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look that big. And then I do it. I'm like, well, that was dumb. But, you know, that's just kind of the way it works for me. And now we got friends walking into the garage. Hi, buddy.
Hey, guys.
So, yeah, just stay healthy and ride hard. And, you know, I've been trying my hardest to work with some younger kids in the valley and around. And, you know, like Devin, for instance, he's been riding with me the last couple times. And, you know, I'm really enjoying helping him progress. And what, you know, I point out a line and he's like, yeah, I can do that. And I go, you know, I'll explain to him like how to make it happen, and he'll go make it happen. And to me, that's huge. You know, I really enjoy watching that progression out of Devin, and not only Devin, but other kids in this town as well. So
yeah, awesome.
that's a goal for me, is to be a better coach, because I've had this experience for the last 10 years of, you know, pushing hard. Now I want to see other kids do it, you know? So
100%, man. Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah.
It's good to share that passion with the younger guys coming up in the industry, for sure. It's awesome.
absolutely.
Good to see the future strong.
Yeah. So
That's my goal. That's one of my goals is start somebody's future. My little man, he's got his own sled this year, so
Yeah.
my main priority is to get him out there and getting him understanding the power that snowmobiles really have and the joy you can get from them. So priority one is kid on sled safe through winter, and two is 1,000 bow ties. I figure if I can do 1,000 bow ties this year, I should be able to get one done cleanly with style.
Yeah, man, that's good. I would have killed. I would have killed to have a sled when I was a young fella for sure. But I know I wouldn't be where I am if I did. I guess. So.
7 people just walked into my garage. 8 of them left.
They're like, he's got to build an entire snowmobile tonight that's sitting there as a bulkheaded tunnel. So it looks like he's a crew to
There's
do
a
it. I don't know.
bulkhead motor and
Oh yeah,
yeah, they're all driven to do it.
Nothing like the late night shop nights, boys. I don't.
Absolutely.
I don't even have a shop, man. That's one of my goals. I'm working towards to build a big shop, a house on top. I just got a little tent sled shed right now, so it works, man.
Dude, that's the sacrifice page. Just like you're saying though, it's you got the shed you at least have the shed.
Yeah.
People that got the big fancy shop, they got the bills that go with the big fancy shop, and they don't get out and ride 100 days a year. So it's that toss up, man. It's doing what you do until you can do what you want to do.
Yeah, man. Work towards it, boys. Work towards it.
Well,
absolutely.
Dude, Cody, you got work to do. I don't want to hold you up. I'm completely exhausted, and that's why I had to hop up. I got to go check on my plant outdoors. I'm pretty sure some stuff's freezing.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you for you hit me up. It was pretty humbling for me when I did meet you there at Heydays, and you're just like, bro, I want to get on that podcast, and I'm like, what, dude? Like, you want to do a podcast? So that first time I met you there at Heydays, that has stuck with me even through the break I took not doing it. Is I'm like, I gotta get the show back up because I need Khan to come on here. Your energy, dude, your energy, brother. Like I opened the show with, it's changing the culture of snowmobiling, that 1%. So, final thoughts for people out there, man. Real nice day. What do you got for them on a close?
Yeah, I think the biggest close is just stay positive. Make sure that, everyone's sort of safe out in the backcountry because, we don't want to be losing any more people. And, the biggest thing is just stay driven, like Scott was saying and Cody was saying, and constantly keep an eye on your goals there. Know that things are going to work out the way you want them to work out, and have a real nice day, boys. That's it.
Boy.
Real nice.
I watched that too. Boondock Nation.
Hopefully we get to catch up and ride, boys, once the borders open up.
Borders open up. We got
dude. As soon as the border,
let me know, man.
As soon as the border opens up,
I got a sweet little sled in bed. So if you guys ever want to fly in or you want to drive over, let me know. We'll get you kitted out.
Yeah, boy.
Sweet,
and vice versa, dude. As soon as it opens up, you get here. So
I will.
I appreciate it.
Well, happy New Year, and thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, brother. It was an honor, a pleasure, and I gotta say thank you, man. Have a safe season. Keep your group safe out there, and stay healthy and tear it up this year.
Yeah, cheers, boys. Have a good one.
Cheers, buddy.
Yes.
Cody, was I right? Like, how freaking rad is Khan? Like, I didn't know about the fishing stories. Everybody out there that's listening, like, that is absolutely a manifestation of staying driven and literally being prepared and having your shit together to when that opportunity does present itself, you're there and ready to capitalize on it. Dude, fundamentally, Khan's got a driven mindset. What do you say?
I agree, man. And I think he's killing it, and he's going to continue killing it because he's got that good mindset about it. So
that's it. Well, it looks like your crew's ready to hammer out a sled build tonight. Everybody there, measure the cap, tighten all the bolts, put an extra washer on it. Whatever you got to do.
Get
Cody on the snow
back together with a lot of rivets. All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you next time. Everyone out there, stay driven. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Love it. Friends, you heard it. Khan, out of BC, from Australia, capitalized on a vision he had when he was a kid. making it happen day in and day out, 37 years old and out there hungry, chasing it and never giving up, staying present, staying focused and manifesting that reality. If there's no more proof to your life that if you stay focused on a goal long enough, and no matter what comes at you, and no matter how many times you stumble, if you keep up and stay driven, you're bound to get there. And hey, we could all become carpenters and fishing guides if that's what we were driven to do. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Again, this is be out in podcast in a couple weeks. All my live viewers, I appreciate you all. I like to tag your comments on the pictures, so share this out if you feel so inclined. Tune in on Spotify, Google Play Podcast, and any iHeartRadios, any other podcast stations. We'll be out in a couple weeks. Deuces, everybody. Driven out.